Alright, we're going to start the show off with a congratulations to the Washington Nationals. Alright, and to start today's show off, we're going to talk about. I'm going to start the show off with a. There's a word I'm looking for. There we go. We're good. Excellent. Perfect. We're ready to rock and roll. I'm going to pull that up so that I can see the chat today. And all right. So as usual, we'll be talking about all the stuffs, the stuffs and things that we always talk about. Special special congratulations to the Washington Nationals on their NFC, on their victory again over the Houston Astros. A huge victory. One that I honestly was surprised that they were able to pull off. With their long layoff, I thought that they might have issues with with getting back in there, or with coming on strong. I thought they might have they might struggle to start the in the series. I thought they might struggle with the series. But obviously, they were clearly more than ready for the Houston Astros. So definitely congratulations to them and their victory. I did not see that coming, honestly. I thought that the Astros would win would win in 4 or 5 games. I figured it'd be probably a clean sweep. I thought the Astros were the better team overall. Obviously, I was wrong. And I definitely thought that they would have that having that layoff would not help them at all. Perfect. All right, and center that. Excellent. And I thought that would be an issue with they might have an issue, but obviously they didn't. Obviously they were able to overcome. They won all the games they won were on the road. They haven't won a game in they haven't won a home playoff game since I don't know when, if ever. They were they're the second Washington team to win a World Series or to win a championship in the last 2 years. Um, I didn't see it coming. Definitely congratulations to them. Hold on, just doing a little bit of. As I think the last time the Bullets the last time the Williams and the Mystics won the championship as well. How about that? I think that the last time the Bullets won a championship was in the 70s. Yeah, 79. I think 79 was the last time that they won an NBA championship. As always, we'll be going over the NFL and college sports, previewing both leagues this week, weeks 9 and 10 respectively between the two leagues. We'll be doing the power rankings. We'll be getting into any other random topics that we want to get into. I will have the Discord is open. Once I get the link, I'll drop that in the chat if you want to come hang out and talk to me. I will be available to chit chat with. And I'll. Unfortunately, I don't see the mixer. Hmm. But if not, then oh well. So we have a lot of stuff to get to. So let's really quickly run through the college scores and NFL scores, and then we'll preview next week. And we'll start with the NCAA scores. A lot of crazy stuff happened this last week. Lots of stuff that I didn't see coming. Lots of big wins. Lots of surprising losses. I'm gonna go over the games that I did manage to pick. Some of the games that I didn't pick were just didn't have. Yeah, I just didn't happen to show up in my feed. When I was looking. Uh, so it looks like there's no games tonight. I'm not seeing any games for tonight, unfortunately. Barely snuck by. Okay. So that was a week ago yesterday. Let's see, let me check my. So I had that one. That was a week ago Thursday. These are all your Saturday games. Boy, did I get that one wrong. I did not see, I didn't realize how good, well, I think that no one realized how good that Oklahoma, or that Kansas State was going to be this past week. I did not see them, putting up any points. I had it 45 to 7, Oklahoma. I got close with Oklahoma's score. They only scored 41. I really thought Wisconsin was going to give Ohio State a much better game, but Ohio State was able to bottle up and hold um, the running back there for Wisconsin, whose name is escaping me, Taylor down. Um, so they were able to managed to bottle him up. I had that one right, but I didn't have the score anywhere near what I thought it was going to be. Then I had Oklahoma State beating Iowa State, or I had Iowa State beating Oklahoma State, so I got that one wrong. I just didn't. I kind of picked the favorite in that one. I didn't know how good, Oklahoma State had been kind of trending down. Iowa State had been trending up. I kind of had that one. It's kind of what I was thinking. That's why I went with that. That's why I took that. Then Maryland, I had pretty close. Got that one pretty close. I had Minnesota 45 over Maryland at 14. Of course, Minnesota won, so I got that one. I got that one right, and I got the score pretty close. Now I had Texas over TCU. Again, I just I don't watch I don't get a chance to check everybody out all at the same time. Um, so and sometimes things can sneak up on you, and you have a surprise or win or two. So I got that. That was the one I got wrong, but good job by TCU to get out there and get front and get a lead and hold on to win that one. Then Boston College and Clemson. I picked Clemson to roll in that one. They rolled. They even scored more than I predicted. Not too bad. Not too bad. UCLA snuck in there and stole one again. I thought Arizona State was a much better team. UCLA's been trending down all year. So, um, good on them. Good on them to steal a win. I had ASU winning pretty big. Then I had Washington rolling over Washington. I had Oregon rolling over Washington State. Washington State. That's the Cougars. Washington State Cougars. Yep. But they did manage to win, so I got that one right. But I did not. That score was not as close as I was expecting that score to be. Iowa beat our friends from Northwestern 20-0. I didn't see that being. I saw Iowa winning, but I didn't think it was going to be that big of a blowout. A low-scoring blowout, as it were. Then you have Appalachian State against South Alabama. I had App State winning, so I got that one right. I had them winning by a healthy margin. They won by a healthy margin. I had Penn State over Michigan State 38-9. This final ended up being 28-7, so a low-scoring blowout, as it were. So that's another win. I had Auburn and LSU, a little more of a lopsided game. I thought there would be more points scored in that game. I thought both offenses might show up and show out a little bit and show us something that we hadn't seen yet, but that was not the case. It was 20-23, but I still got that one right, so mark another one down. I had Alabama winning 50-0 over Arkansas, and that 48-7 is pretty damn close, I would say. Then in the big game of my week, I had Michigan 24, Notre Dame 21, and to my shock and the shock of the entire nation, Michigan absolutely rolled. They showed up, they showed out, they played hard. And I did want to talk about this. Unfortunately, my boy Brad Walker was not available for his show this week, so I'm left to deal with this on my own. And I did want to talk about it and spend a little bit of time on this. I planned on talking about it with him, but we're going to talk about it here now for a couple of minutes. Everybody has been dogging Harbaugh out for the last year and a half. Oh, he can't win the big one. He can't win on the road. He can't win against a top 10 opponent. But if you look at all the games, but the Wisconsin game this year and the Ohio State game and the bowl game last year, those 3 games, everything else has been relatively close, within a 1 score. And so it was all a matter of a play here or a play there or a call here and a call there. Even 2 weeks ago against Penn State, if a call had gone our way, or if we had made a play, it was all right there in front of us. So I got that one right real quick before I forget to mark that down. Again, I'm liking what's going on. Like I've said all year, I've been saying this for a year and a half now. Is even if you were to fire Harbaugh, let's say you go out and you get Les Miles from Kansas. You bring in Les Miles, and we got to hear about it for 5 years, how these aren't Les's players, these are Jim's players. We got to wait for Jim, Les to get, 4 or 5 years into recruiting, where he's got a full roster turnover. This is Jim's first year, okay, with a full complement of players that he wanted, that fit his system, that are in his mind a complement to him. It's very rare that you get. Excuse me, I'm thirsty this morning. It's very rare that you get a team like an Ohio State or a Alabama that turns it around in a year or two. It usually takes 3 or 4 or 5 years or 8. Look at Clemson. Clemson was terrible for 4 years after Dabo Swinney got there. And they slowly started to get better. And then they were winning. They won 8 games, and then they won 9 games, and then they won 10 games, and it was 11, and they were so close. And then they win a national title, and then the runner-up, and they win another one. And it's all about having patience and letting things develop and letting things happen. Whereas you can't rush it. You can't have that. You can't start a program. You can't bring a program up from the basement and not expect it to have issues. You've got to be patient with it. You got to be you've got to be more. You got to realize that it's going to take some time. It's going to take a few years to get back to where you want, or to get where you want to be, because of how things are and how recruiting works and it's like I talked about last week on the show here, talking about the GM being a GM in the NFL. How it's not all just right there. It's not all just right there. You got to work for it, and you got to understand. You got to, especially when you're trying to bring a program that's been beat down for years back to prominence. You can't just you can't just expect it to come back, right? I don't understand why it does that. Anyway, um, you can't have that. Let's go back here. So, patience is not only is patience a virtue, but it's key when you have a when you're running a program and you want to be a national power and you want to take your team to the next level. You have to remember that it's not always going to be uh, right away. You're not going to be able to just do it like that. It takes time. It takes tenacity. It takes finding diamonds in the rough. I really like the trajectory of the Michigan program going forward. I think we're on a very good, if we maintain the course, if we stay the course and we maintain what we're doing, we will have we'll have a very good program here in the next 3 years. We'll be competing for national titles year in and year out. We will be competitive with Alabama and Clemson and Ohio State and LSU. Um, as long as we maintain the status quo, as it were, as long as we maintain, as long as we continue to do what we're doing here now, and we don't change horses in midstream. I really like the program that Jim's built. I really think we're ready to take the next step, but it requires us to maintain our footing. Um, and last week they ran a lot of simple counter traps. Pull the left guard, pull the right guard, kick out, kick out, kick out, full step to the left and come back to the right. And then flip it. False step to the right, pull the right, and come back to the left. You get blockers out in front, you get speed and space, and you've got playmakers with getting the ball. And I want to get into the underneath stuff here after we do after we go through the power rankings. So I definitely want to get into that, and we'll get into that here in a few minutes. So that was the last game of the night was Utah and California. I had Utah 31, Cal 13. It turned out 35-0. So yet another one I got right. So I went loss, win, loss, win, loss, win, loss, win, 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 win. So that was 10 for 10 and 4, 10 and 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep, 10 wins, 5 losses. I went 10 for 15 last week. Not a terrible week. Much better than the week before that, where I got a whole bunch wrong. So then this week we have we already had 2 games played. We have the 2 games of the week, both on Halloween night, both scary games. West Virginia gave Baylor a much better game than I had predicted. I had Baylor rolling. A lot of these midweek games, you take the favorite, you take them big. It's something to be expected. Do you know what I mean? So I had Baylor winning big, but it was a much closer game. It was a closer game than the game last week where I had, or 2 weeks ago I should say, now that we're through week 10, or week 9 and we're into week 10, I had West Virginia giving Texas a game, and they absolutely did not. So, as much as the Penn State game broke my heart, the Notre Dame game gave me a lot of hope. So, we'll get into previewing next week as we get into the rest of the games and we get into the rest of the schedule. I got the Georgia State, or Georgia Southern, I should say. Georgia Southern gave Appalachians all they can handle and more, and they pulled off a big victory. What's the word I'm looking for? Another signature win for their program after knocking off Tennessee in week 1, and here in Knoxville. They have a couple of weeks off, and then they get back after it against the Troy Trojans. If I'm not mistaken, they knocked off. Or was no? Maybe it wasn't Georgia Southern. Maybe it's somebody else. Oh, that was Georgia State. I'm sorry, not Georgia Southern. Georgia State. That's my bad. My mistake. Georgia State knocked off Tennessee. Yep, that was in week 1. A shocking upset. Obviously I wasn't doing this show at that time, so I didn't have a yep 38-30. I thought it was a lot worse than that, but then Western beat them. Ugh, that's terrible. Anyway, moving on, quickly and quietly. Moving on to tomorrow's slate of games. No games tonight, it looks like. At least none on the big board here. Oops. That looks like pretty much every game. At least that's the top 25. Let me see if I can find the full. No, not future. Oy vey. The joys of live broadcasting. This is the tough thing about broadcasting live without a producer, without a you may think it's easy doing one of these shows and having a and just doing this and just talking to the camera, and obviously this is what I'm doing here. But it does help to have a full production staff that can that can help you do whatever and monitor the stream and make sure that you're not making major errors. Alright, so let's check all these scores here. Let's get on to it. Any games tonight? Okay, we got one game tonight, and this is that should be it could be a fun one. So we have now I have all the games and not just the top 25. Okay, so I can make full predictions this week, unlike last week where I only picked the top 25. Not intentional. That's how it neat. So we got Navy traveling to UConn tonight. And that's going to be an interesting matchup. You know what? I'm going to take the midshipmen in a bit of an upset, a touch of an upset, 21-20. In regulation, Michigan going on the road to Maryland, College Park, should be a fun one for my Wolverines. I know I've said a lot about them, and I talked a lot about them in the first segment of this show, and I'm not by any means a slappy, but I am a homer. Okay, so if I talk Michigan up over some other teams, you'll have to forgive my bias. But when I started this year, I had Michigan losing to Clemson in the semifinals game. Honestly, we don't know how these games are going to break out and how they're going to break down and what's going to happen and all that good stuff. But, a lot of football to be played, a lot of things to be decided. A couple of, a little bit of help. We still could make the playoffs. I think Michigan's a dangerous team right now as it stands. They're very loaded. They're going to be back next year. They're going to have a full complement. Everybody be back. Everyone should be back, could be back. So, no, by no means are they where I expected them to be, but by no means are they out of anything. They still have albeit an outside shot, but a shot nonetheless at making the Big Ten title game. You can make the Big Ten title game, win the title game. If they beat and they can pull off the upset, against Ohio State, and they win out, and they're 9-2 going into the Ohio State game. Ohio State catches a loss somewhere in there. They beat Ohio State, and they go to them, and of course, a lot of things have got to happen. A lot of things have got to happen. But if Penn State has 3 losses, and we win out, well, I guess Penn State would need to have 4 losses. No, we can't lose a game. Penn State has 3 losses. We'll have 2 losses. Tiebreakers won't count. And so, and we can still make the Big Ten title game. We'll be 11, and then we win the Big Ten title game. Be 11-2. So aside that being an aside, let me get back to Michigan. Let me get back to picking the games. I'm gonna say 45-7. Michigan rolls. Michigan big. Now don't embarrass me, boys. All right, NC State at Wake Forest. A surprising Wake Forest team. Was not expecting them to be that high up at the start of the year. Wolfpack over the are they the Demon Deacons? I think so. You know what? I like Wake Forest in that game. 27-13. I'm not sure what the weather's gonna be like. Could be cold, could be rainy. Then you got the Buffaloes, I guess? Bulls? Something like that. Versus Eastern Michigan. In Ipsy. So I like Buffalo in that game. 28-7. Northern Illinois at Central. Okay, as I'm writing these down. See, pen and paper, it's easier to keep track of things that way. Another Michigan game in Michigan. This one in Mount Pleasant. It's a tough one to call. I'm gonna call Michigan. I'm gonna say Central Michigan 30, NIU 29. I'm gonna say NIU goes for 2 at the end of the game and doesn't get it. Nebraska at Purdue. I have. You know what? I'm gonna bookmark this page so I can find it easier next week. When I come back to recap everything. A little behind the scenes action here. Purdue and Nebraska, that's going to be your big noon kickoff in West Lafayette with good tickets still available for that game, starting at $4. Go get a ticket. Ooh, if you want to go see if you want to go see a college football game and you live near Ypsilanti, come check out Eastern Michigan. They got tickets as low as $2 a pop. That's a fun game. That could be a fun, game. If you like college football, you want to go check out a game, it might be not a bad idea to drive down to Ipsy and go check out a game. Anyway, so Nebraska and Purdue. I like Purdue over Nebraska. Nebraska has had a really, really rough year all year. They're I don't want to say they're an embarrassment, but they're not very good. They're not very good this year. They have not been they have not been the I'm going to say 35-21 Purdue. Boston College at Syracuse. That should be a fun one over on the ACC network. The new ACC network. First time for the ACC network. So you got the Eagles versus the Orangemen. If you're near Syracuse, you want to go check out a game. They got tickets starting at, you got 2 big time football programs. Go check that game out. They're $5 as low as $5 a ticket. Probably nosebleeds, but hey, it's still a seat. So I'm gonna take. I want to take Boston College, just because it's one of I'm gonna say Boston College 24, Syracuse 21 in overtime. just because it's one of those games. Ugh, such a tough thing to take. So now you have UTSA versus Texas A&M. I like Texas A&M big, 45-0. Texas A&M rolls. Not really the year that they were wanting to have, but that happens. In big time college football, you have down years. Old Dominion versus Florida International. That one's a crap game. But if you're near Miami and you want to go check out a football game, they got tickets starting at $3 a pop. Might not be a bad idea. Might be a fun game to go check out. So if you want, and these are all your noon kicks. Then your last noon kick is gonna. Oh, I guess I should probably pick that game, shouldn't I? I don't know too much about either of these teams. Not teams that I follow closely, nor do I care about all that much. Both programs are kind of those beat 'em up programs that you get at the beginning of the year to get your season started off right. Start off with a win. Um, so go check out a game. If you want to go check out major college football, power Division I football, that might not be a bad idea to go down there and check out a game there. Um, so that being said, um, uh, I'm gonna say a low scoring game, 13-10. FIU wins. I don't know. Liberty, who gave Rutgers a bit of a scare. What was it, last week or 2 weeks ago now? Versus UMass. I like Liberty in this game. I watched a little bit of them play. They can play some ball. If you're near, if you want the cheaper tickets, $18. There's still a lot of, if you're near any of these games, tickets are fairly cheap. The most expensive tickets that they're saying is Wake Forest tickets. That's going to be $59 a ticket. So most of these other games, these lesser teams, no offense to these teams, but it's a good chance to go check out some football. So 25-23, Liberty wins. What the heck was that? Oh, it's just, yeah. All right. Excuse me. Um, well, I pull up the other stuff that I need for the rest of the show. Let me get through this quick a little bit more. Let's pick this up here. Akron and Bowling Green, not a game that I have any interest in. Um, I'll take Bowling Green 38-35. Moving on quickly. Virginia Tech at Notre Dame. Notre Dame really needs a big bounce back game. After the drubbing they took against Michigan, they need a huge bounce back game. Tickets starting at $17. If you want to go check out Major, this is a 2:30 kick. So if you're near South Bend, you want to go check out a football game, might not be a bad idea. Yeah, Notre Dame has to have this one, so I'm gonna say Notre Dame 38, Virginia Tech 21. In another toilet bowl kind of game, you got the Troy Trojans going to Coastal Carolina in Conway, South Carolina. They've got tickets marked at $0. So if you're near Conway, South Carolina, go check out a football game for free. Apparently. So I'm gonna take Troy 35, Coastal Carolina 24. All right, in the probably in the biggest game of this week that I'm seeing, um, you've got Georgia and Florida. And you gotta say this is a huge game for both teams. Huge playoff implications. Huge SEC championship playoff game or championship game implications. Um, I don't know, and I just saw a headline. I kind of want to get into that too. So if I don't forget, I will get that in there. Um, Wow. Sorry, I got distracted. Excuse me. Excuse my ADHD. So if you and this one's in Jacksonville, um, it's the tickets are expensive, so this may be a game that you might not want to go see. 3:30 kick, Florida, Georgia. It's always a huge rivalry game. I like Florida at the end of the day, and I'm gonna say 38-35 in overtime. Next, in the next game, we got K-State versus Kansas. Um, it's a compelling game, to be honest with you, because Kansas has had some battles. They gave Oklahoma a battle in the first half in that game. They almost beat Texas. K-State loses to Texas but beats Oklahoma. It's a compelling matchup, a game that I will keep an eye on. It should come up after the Michigan game, so definitely be a game that I'm going to keep an eye on. Um, so I'm going to take K-State, and I'm going to say 41-38. And then I'm just gonna run through all these games here real quick. Um, Arkansas, Arkansas State, UNL Monroe. Don't care, don't know. Taking Arkansas State 28-17. Marshall and Rice. Don't know, don't care. I'm gonna take Rice 37-13. Army and Air Force. It's always a fun one when the the military academies get together for a game. Um, taking Army, taking Air Force, 27-17. Middle Tennessee and Charlotte. Should be Middle Tennessee. 28-16. UNLV and Colorado State, a game that I know little about. Not even scheduled to be televised, so UNLV, the Running Rebels, 27-7. I guess. I don't know. Don't know anything about that. Don't know anything about those two schools. In a game that used to have huge playoff implications and used to be a rivalry game, used to be on national television in prime time, the U, Miami, versus Florida State, in a basically meaningless game now. I like Miami. 27-24. Both programs are kind of down. Um, so let's see what we got. We got so much. We got so many games here. Maybe I should have just picked the top 25. Um, TCU at Oklahoma State. I like TCU 37-34. Coming off a huge win. Could be a letdown game. Gotta watch out for that. Could be a trap game. After beating Texas last week. Rutgers versus Iowa, or Illinois, I mean. I still like Illinois. I like them 30-27. Another one that could be a letdown game. Um, Utah, uh, uh, Wilford versus Clemson in a meaningless game, uh, in a completely garbage game. Clemson 62-0. Then Utah and Washington. And this game is compelling. It's a 4 o'clock kick, so those were all your 3:30 kicks. These are the next handful of games are your 4 o'clock kicks. As we burn through these ones. We're gonna get through Utah. I still like the Utes. And so I'm gonna go 38-14. Watch Washington win this game. Go go figure. Uh, Mississippi State versus Arkansas. A matchup that I'm not really compelled by. Two teams that used to be powerhouses in the SEC. Now not very good in their respective conferences. So I will take Mississippi State set 27-17. Um, then I am Pitt. Oh, God, there's so many games every week. Well, I'm already here. Might as well finish it out. This show may end up becoming longer than last. This may be the longest show we've done yet. Pitt versus. Let me check and make sure I haven't had any comments or anything telling me to get on with it. Let me check the comments section real quick. Anything? Okay. No comments. No comments. All right, back to the scoreboard. Oops, wrong one. Close that out. Close. Back there. Pitt. Who do they have? Not Syracuse. Georgia Tech. That's a compelling game. It could be a lot of fun. Although Georgia Tech did lose already to Citadel, so I'm gonna go Pitt 17, Georgia Tech 14. Um, then FLA traveling on the road to Western KU. You know what? I like Western Kentucky 28-6. Sure, why not? And now I gotta go here and restart week 10 with on the next page. Again, the joys of live broadcasting. Tulsa versus Tulane. Tulsa, Tulane, blech. Both teams, blech. Should be a lucky game. Tulsa 24, Tulane, 27. I'll take Tulane. Oregon State versus Arizona. I like the Wildcats in this one. 28-24. Okay, moving on quickly. that was the last. That was a four. So that was your only 4:30 kick. Your first your 5 o'clock kick. Texas State goes on the road to face Louisiana. Um, I don't know. I'll take Louisiana 30-24. Sure, why not? Don't know anything about that one. Ole Miss going on the road to take on Auburn. Uh, Auburn needs a bounce back after losing last week, or did they win? I forget if they won or lost. Let me check. They may not have played. They may have been idle last week. I think they were idle last week. So, with them being idle, they need to win. Um, I like Auburn, 38-13. Let's just hurry this. Let's go ahead and finish this out. Yeah, Cincinnati. And then this is so that was your first 7 o'clock kick. These are the rest of the next four. The next two are 7 o'clock kicks. Ooh. So you have Cincinnati at East Carolina. I like Cincinnati 37-17. UAB versus Tennessee. I'm gonna take UAB in an upset. I'm gonna go 21-17. And in a game that's rather surprised, in a game that you wouldn't expect to be that, in a game that you would expect Tennessee to win. I'm gonna take UAB because Tennessee has proven that they're not very good. Northwest. I'm gonna take Northwestern and Indiana. I like Indiana, 36-24. SMU versus Memphis. This is going to be your late game. This is going to be your primetime game over on ABC. A chance for both teams to show up and show out on primetime television. So, check that game out. Should be a good one. Tickets are cheap. So if you want to go there, and probably nosebleed way up in the back, but should be good. Good seats should still be available at least as of today. I like SMU 31, Memphis 23. Vandy and South Carolina. I'm gonna take South Carolina 37, Vanderbilt 17. Virginia at North Carolina. Mac Brown gets the job done. North Carolina wins 31-24. Oregon at SC. It's a long time since this has not been in Oregon. They have not been a top 20. This has not been a top 25 matchup. This is your late game on Fox. So this is your 8 o'clock kick. I like Oregon 31-13 over SC. They need a bounce back. Oregon needs to show up and show out tonight or tomorrow night and win that one. And they need to really secure their claim to the Pac-12. So Colorado and UCLA in a game that's a 9 o'clock kick over in Pac-12 network. Colorado and UCLA. Excuse me, I'm going with the Buffaloes. 37-13. Oh, wait, that's UCLA. Sorry, wrong one. UCLA. I'm stay with the same score. Colorado wins big. All right, book it. Now BYU, on the other hand, has Utah State. and this is your 10 o'clock kick. I like BYU, 23 to 18. Boise State wins over San Jose State. 37-13. New Mexico versus Nevada. Nevada team that has not performed nearly as well as I thought they might. And these two are your 10:30 kicks. And so I like Memphis. I like New Mexico. 38-31. And your last game of the week. Good Lord, did that take forever? Fresno versus Hawaii in Hawaii at Aloha Stadium. That's an 11:59 Eastern kick, just so it doesn't run into Sunday, I'm assuming. So, or 11:59 kick, not 39. What did I say? Did I say 39 or 59? It's 59, either way. Oy vey, what a week. Lots of games. I love college football. Fresno State 31, Hawaii 23. All right. And that, my friends, is that for college football. I hope that was entertaining. It was really tedious and boring. So let's get into the NFL scores now, because we need to go over those. We need to go over those. NFL scores. This should be a lot easier to do. The scoring will be, and then I don't know if I'm going to get to anything else today like I wanted to. There's a lot of stuff that I wanted to get to, but I don't know if I'm going to get to everything today because it's been such a hectic. Getting all that done was hectic as hell. I do apologize for that. I was not expecting to have like 400 games to go over and cover. Lots of good games, lots of big top 25 matchups. It's kind of fun picking some of the other games. NFL scores. Need Sunday's games from last week. Yes, I'm warning. I don't care. Screw you guys. I'm going home. Alrighty. We're going to pull up the expanded scores. We can go over these. And so, right off the top, I got the Seahawks and Falcons right. That was a win. Okay, I got that one right. Eagles and Bills, I got that one wrong. I didn't expect it. I didn't know what to expect from the Eagles and Bills. Both teams are very confusing, and we'll talk about that more when we get into the power rankings. As I go over the power rankings yet again, as I always do on this show because it's my favorite part of the show. Then I had the Chargers beating the Bears. I had that 21-16, 17-16, pretty close. I had the Lions beating the Giants. Did I miss out the Bucks and no, there it is. Okay. Well, I had the Lions. So then I had the Bucks and Titans. I had the Titans winning. So I had that one right. I had that on a much more low scoring game than it ended up being. Broncos in Denver. Oh, okay, I see what it is. When I did this last week, it was in by time. Now I think it's by region. I don't know. I can figure it out. So then we're just gonna go back and forth. So I had Indy winning. I had it 30-13. It ended up being Closer than that, a lot closer than that, 15-13. But the win is the win is the win, as they say. The Rams and the Bengals, I had that 24-13. It was 24-10. I almost nailed it. Feel free to bask in my glory. Saints and Cardinals, I had that 27-15, 31-9, barely close, and take the points. Jets and Jags, I had it 27-9. It was 29-15, very within reason. Now the one that I got right but didn't call it all was the Panthers and the Niners. I thought that game was going to be a lot closer. I thought it was going to be lower scoring. The Niners came out, took care of business, solidified their their position, and then last night they did it again. So we're going to go ahead and mark that down as a win already. So we're already 1-0 to start Week 9. So the Niners took care of business against the Panthers. And Denver had the win. The Patriots beat the Browns. I had it 44-0. It's 27-13. Closer than I was thinking, but it's still a win. The Packers did defeat the Chiefs. I had it 24-17. It was 24-31-24, within 7 points on both sides. I was close. And then Monday night's game on the 28th, I had it 28-7. It was 27-14. Again, within the margin of error, I would say. So I went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 13-1 on last week. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8. And then 4 for an adjusted score of an adjusted score of 31-9 in the last 4 weeks. Those are pretty good numbers, if you ask me. I am clipping right along at 14. That was 12 games. That was 14 and 14. So, give me a calculator. 14 plus 14 plus 12 is 40. Oops. So 31 divided by 40 equals, so I am clipping right along at 0.775. I got last night's game right. And we'll reevaluate the scores after this week. So, Sunday's games. The first game of the week, the 9 o'clock kick over in London, is the Texans and the Jags. Both teams that I'm not, that I'm still a little bit suspect of. Both teams really need a win to make the show. They need to show up and show out and win. Ooh, that's gonna be a good one. Ooh, let me do a little bit of. I need to look something up real quick. God, there was so much stuff I wanted to get to. Is he in or is he out for week 9? Has he been cleared? Has he been cleared to play? Okay. I don't know. It doesn't say whether he's in or he's out. So that's going to make picking that game a little bit tougher. Normally, obviously I do the show on Friday, so I won't be able to pick on that game. I have to take a pick based on the information I have right now. So let's go ahead and just look at the Jags and Titans, or Texans, I should say. Um, yeah. Um, I like, I like, I like the Texans. 31-21. Redskins and Bills. I like the Bills. 30-13. Vikings in Kansas City. Oh, I don't know. I don't know. Oh, if Mahomes plays, I like the Chiefs. If Mahomes doesn't play, I like the Vikings. I'm going to assume that he's not playing. They're going to hold him out another week. And I'm going to take the Vikings. I like Minnesota 27, Kansas City 24 again. Um, the Jets and the Finns in a tank bowl. Oh, what a craptastic game. Both teams need a loss. Both teams can't afford to win. I'm so tempted to take this as another damn tie, but the last time I took a tie, the Dolphins went for two. Oh. I'm gonna throw a dart at the board. I'm gonna say the Jets win this one, 16-10. Bears and Eagles. Ah, gosh, I want to take the Eagles. But then do I bet against the Bears? They got embarrassed last week. It's in Philly. It could be nasty. Shit. I'm gonna go ahead and take the Eagles 24-17. Colts and Steelers. This is a really competitive game, and these are the 1 o'clock kicks. This is a very compelling game. A game that both teams need to have to save their season, or well, more or less Pittsburgh needs this game to save their season. The Colts, this is a game that they should win. They definitely want to win, but it's not a game. It's not a season-saving game for the Colts. They're still very much in the AFC South hunt, especially if the Jazz can pull off the upset against the Texans. I'm gonna stay with the Colts though. I'm gonna ride the hot hand. I like Brissett. I've been high on him all year. I've been high on him since Andrew Luck said he was done. I didn't write the Colts quite off, but I thought that they'd be an uphill battle. But if what's his nuts there could play, if he could do well, but Brissett could do well, and he did more. If he could do more than just he didn't have to do more than lose. He didn't have to do anything more than not lose the game. And I thought that they could be competitive, especially in the AFC South, and compete for a wild card. I didn't see any one team in the AFC South really being a dominant force going into the year. So I've been high on the Colts all year. I still like the Colts. I'm going to say 27-16. Titans and Panthers. I think the Panthers will bounce back this week, so I'm going to give them the win over the Tits. Titans. Uh, Freud was right. No, I said it on purpose. Titans, Panthers. Panthers win 30-13. Relatively big. It's in Carolina. One of your late games. These are your 4 o'clock. You have two 4:05 kicks. So your first 4:05 kick is Lions at Raiders. Now, neither team really did anything to bolster their roster, or improve or make the teams better over the last couple, over the free as the trade deadline approached. Neither team really made any big moves. I know the Lions traded Quinn away, but that's really didn't. He wasn't really that big a deal, in my opinion. Both teams really need a win. They definitely need to win. They need to win. They need to win. They need to win. I like I like the Lions over the Raiders. 27-24. Matthew Stafford leads the game-winning drive late. Bucks and Seahawks. I like the Seahawks. I like the Seahawks big. The Seahawks D is very good. They will make Jameis Winston look like a goofus. Not that he needs any help with that. He looks like a goofus as it is. But this goofus there, that goofus there. Um, I gotta give the win to the Seahawks, 34-7. So then your first Browns. Cleveland and Denver. In Denver, both teams are desperate for a win. If they want to make any kind of run, they both need wins, and they need wins this week. I don't really know which team to take. I like the Browns if Chubb plays and plays well. I like the Broncos. Well, with Flacco being out, I was going to say I like the Broncos if Flacco plays well, but he can't play because he's out for the next 4 to 6 weeks with a neck injury, I think it was. I think both teams are in trouble. I like the Browns 16-10. Packers and Chargers in LA. I like the Pack Attack in this game. The Chargers have a definite sense of self-destruction week in and week out. Um, they like to blow their own feet off. Um, More so than getting beat, they like to beat themselves. I do like the Packers. I like the Packers 27-17. And then your Sunday night, your nightcap is Patriots and Ravens in Baltimore. It's a tough game to pick. Lots of stuff going on there. Lots of moving parts. Lots of things that you got to get into. A lot of things to be taken into consideration. Things that you have to worry about. So mm, I like the Patriots 27-24. We'll see if that defense can handle if this defense is for real, they will handle Lamar Jackson. Their first true, I don't know if you can see this on camera, but here the quotes true test. And then Cowboys and Giants. Again, teams that both need a win, definitely, desperately. Um, so I'm gonna take the boys to get the dub in New York. We're gonna get into New York here in just a minute when I get to the power rankings. Good Lord, this show has taken so long to get to any point already. Yeah, I like the Cowboys. I like the Cowboys 27-24. I know I picked a lot of 27-24 games this week. It's funny. But I just think that's a very common score. I don't see any reason why it couldn't happen. So now that that's done, I will click back over here and click that out of there. And we will, I know what I did. I need to do this then real quick and put, yeah, that there. Oh, I know. Okay, I see what happened. I don't, okay. Hopefully I have good audio. Hopefully it doesn't sound like a bumble frickin' moron. But anyway, um, so without much further ado, my favorite part of the show, where I get to talk to you about football, is I got my notes here. The only part of the show that is sort of scripted, and that's kind of why it's one of my reasons it's my favorite part of the show is because it does kind of have a little more structure. But it's also because I just get to talk football. I straight up get to talk football and my opinions on football and all that good stuff. That good shit, that shit that we love here that is football. Um, so Miami, 32. I got Miami. They're terrible. Again, I was watching the Monday night game before I had to go call it a night and go to bed. Um, and I was watching what was going on, and I was watching Miami have some success. And then the wheels fell off at the half. Um, I know Booker was talking, McFarland there was talking about how you can't send an all-out blitz on 3rd and 22. I understand where he's coming from, but allow me to disagree if I may. I know he's played football and all that good stuff, and he's an expert and a professional, and that's great. I disagree with him. You can send an all-out blitz. You can send the house. You can send a house blitz. You can send an age 8 or some kind of overload blitz on 3rd and 22. But you can't play 6 to 10 yards off the ball when you do. Now, I can't wait until I can get a dry erase board in here. We're going to diagram some plays. We're going to talk about that stuff, especially in the off season when there's not a lot of on-field stuff going on. We'll talk about what happened over the course of the year, and we'll talk about how to develop a system that takes advantage of what you do well and minimizes your players' mistakes. And I'll put it. It'll be somewhere over there. I'll turn the camera like this, and it'll be like right here, and like here. But in the meantime, so you can't play 10 yards off the ball. You can't have your corners 10 to 15 yards off the line of scrimmage. You can't. If you're gonna play that kind of, if you're gonna take an aggressive attack on, you've got to be aggressive off the call. And scene. You have to be aggressive across the board. You can't blitz. You can't send a house blitz. You can't run an gauge 8 if you're not going to send the whole, if you're not going to get up there and get a jam on them. You got to get a jam on them, knock them off the route, and make them readjust their route so that when you do bring the house, and the timing is off. If he quick throws it, he just takes 3 steps. He sees the house coming, and he calls a hot read, and he throws it in behind the linebackers. Your defender, your corner on that side, your strong, I guess the strong side corner there has to be, or your onside corner, your right side corner has to be right there. Well, it'd be, I guess, be your left there, right, offensive right corner. I'm always coming at this from, if I'm reading this and I see an engage 8, and I'm going to hot read it to an underneath throw, because I'm going to throw in behind the line. I'm going to throw over the linebackers in front of the safety on a dig or a drag route across the middle, or even a hard slant. Send them and turn them. Send them and hook them, or even a hook. Hooking it to the inside so that I can throw, so my receiver's back is to the defender, so I can screen out the defender, and I can and then he can turn and make a play. So he hooks here, I hit him here, and obviously they ran some kind of shallow cross or shallow dig route, which is one of my favorite routes in all of football, especially against blitzes, especially against a zone blitz, because if you're playing, we'll come back to that, because I could go on for an hour on that alone, and I got so much more to get to, and there's so much going on that I want to get to, and I don't know if I'm gonna have time tonight. This show may run long, and just be aware. So Cincinnati at 31. They were. Who did they play? I forget who they played. Did they even play? I think they played. They played the Rams, and they lost. They lost to the Rams, a team that needed a bounce back week. Cincinnati is a good team to get right against. Same with Atlanta and Washington and the Giants and Oakland and the Jets and Cleveland and Tampa and Denver. That's all I got to say about those teams. I know I could go on for hours. Jameis Winston's a bust. He's a straight-up bust. I didn't like him coming out of college. He had attitude issues. He had problems. He had issues at school. He was a malcontent and a problem child. And I would have never drafted him in 100 years for $100 million. Both literally and figure. I wouldn't have drafted him I wouldn't have paid him what they paid him. They paid him an outrageous figure for his talent, or lack there. He has talent. Again, and it comes back down to what I was talking about with Daniel Jones. When I say that when I harp on these things so much and so often, I go over them and I hammer on them week in and week out, and you come and you watch me on other shows, you watch my show, and you see me on Facebook talking about things, and I'm always harping on mental preparedness is over physical preparedness. You give me a guy that can think the game, I can teach him how to play the game. If he can think the game, he can learn how to play the game. Jameis Winston is another one of those guys that's a physical specimen. He's, 6'2", 230 pounds, can run, can throw, can jump, can do all these amazing things with the ball in his hands, but he can't think the game. He can't think the game to save his life. He can't think the game to save his life. And that is the problem. He can't think the game. We see all these quarterbacks like Andy Dalton or Sam Darnold or David Carr. They don't think the game. That's what makes the great quarterbacks the greats, is because they think the game. And Peyton Manning, Joe Montana, Tom Brady, Russell Wilson, Brett Favre, Steve Young. Maybe not those last, Troy Aikman, Terry Bradshaw. They think the game, but if you look at the crappy quarterback, like Baker Mayfield doesn't think the game. He doesn't understand the game from a psychological standpoint. Because throughout school, when he was in high school, when he was in college, it was all easy. It all came to him so naturally that he didn't have to think the game. There are so many guys that don't have to think the game, so that they just physically can't. And they're stronger, they're faster, they're smarter than the average bear. And when you can get away with being just physically better than everyone else in high school and college. And it's something I've said on my show before, and I've been saying it for years, is that the difference between a college program and an NFL program is the best guys at most colleges are 3 and 4 stars. The worst guys at the NFL level are 3 and 4 stars. The most average guy is at least a 3-star athlete in college. The most middling middle linebacker in the NFL, on the worst team, on the worst defense, in the worst city of the NFL, is at least a 3-star athlete, and a 3-star athlete at his position. Not just a 3-star, they're probably a 5-star athlete overall. He could have played any position, most likely. And as the NFL has developed and evolved over the course of the last 100 years, and this being the 100-year anniversary, the specialization of players where they play one position and pretty much play one position exclusively after high school, not after high school, but after getting to high school, after graduating, after playing junior varsity football, being a one position athlete in football, as if where you might play, in other sports, basketball, you might play 3 positions as you get taller and older and stronger and faster. You might start out as small forward in varsity. You might be in your freshman and sophomore year, you might be 6'2", and you might play a small power forward position, and you might bloom to 6'5" in your junior year and move into a power forward role. You might put on, you might in high school and in junior, in junior varsity, you might, in your first 2 years, you might be 6'2", 180 pounds, 185 pounds. And then in your junior year, now you're 6'5", 6'6", 230 pounds, and you might play a power forward role. And then in your senior year, you're 6'9", 6'10", 6'11", you're 265 pounds, and now you're a center. And when you get to your first year in college, and if you go to college, you play your 1 year in college, and you're 6'10", 300 pounds, and you're a center. You're 6'10", 300 pound center that can shoot from the outside, because that's what you've been doing for the last 3 years, shooting from the outside. See, and not to get totally sidetracked, but as opposed to the NFL, or as opposed to as opposed to football, where you're pretty much pigeonholed into one of 2 roles. If you're 6'2", 185 pounds, you're a receiver or quarterback, maybe a safety. And you might slot in there and play a little bit of linebacker if your linebacker core is terrible at your high school, or if there's just no one else to play linebacker, you might play a little linebacker. But if you're 6'2", 215, you're going to play linebacker or safety, maybe even a wide, you might play a lot of line with wide receiver, maybe or maybe even tight end. Or, if you're 5'10", 165 pounds, you might play a little bit of running back, maybe some wide, maybe you might end up being a kicker. You might say, oh, go try kick that ball. And then you focus on that. Whereas in basketball, you can play 3 positions in 3 years. In football, once you find your niche, or your niche, or however you say that, that's where you end up. You just end up in that spot. So, and if you're a tremendous athlete at that position, like especially quarterback, and not to get too sidetracked from the power rankings, and to kind of get back on course and talking about Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold, Josh Allen, um, Josh Rosen. When you're in high school, when you're in college, when you're a young guy, and that's what you do, and you're playing against when most teams have 1, maybe 2 5-star athletes. The vast majority is 3-star athletes. You might see 1 5-star, 4 4-stars, and the rest are made up of 3 and 2 and 3-star, 3 and 2 stars, however you want to look at it. So you might have 1 5-star, who's a middle linebacker. The 4, you might have a defensive lineman who's a 4-star, and 2 defensive linemen who are 4-star, a 4-star corner, and a 4-star safety. And then everybody else is going to be 2 and 3-star, and even some 1-star and some walk-on guys that are going to make, that are going to get some playing time, like a Jordan Glasgow, or some of those guys, and that are gonna end up playing because they just injuries and just sheer willpower to be good athletes and good players. So getting back to the list, at 22, I got Arizona. I still like Arizona at 22, even after last night. So this is based on the past. Obviously, this is based on Week 8. I never take into account things that could happen, only things that have happened, because it's not fair to look at the schedule and go, oh, well, they're only going to play 4 or 5 more. They're going to play 6 games. They got 4 games against sub 500 teams, and they got 2 games against over 500 teams. And so, and that's it's kind of how and then I don't put a lot of stock into whoever you played, especially early in the season, because early in the season, you don't know you don't know who they're gonna be playing, who they're gonna be starting, who's gonna be, you don't know who's gonna have a breakout year, you don't know who's gonna struggle. Like Matt Ryan, everyone had him pegged to make a run at an MVP, at least an NFC MVP, or an Offensive Player of the Year. Maybe not MVP, but at least an Offensive Player of the Year, and now he's out. So, it's not really, to me, it's not fair to say, oh, who have you played? I haven't played anybody, or you could play 8 teams that are all, over 500 and lose to, and you could win 6 games. You could go 6-2 against, New England. And let me go through the New England, San Francisco, New Orleans, Baltimore, Seattle, and Green Bay. Let's say you played those 6 teams. You went 3-3. Are you good? Are you bad? We don't know, because you lost to New England, you lost to Seattle, you lost to Green Bay, but you beat San Francisco, New Orleans, and Baltimore. You can beat Cleveland, and you can, and now you're 3-3. Are you? Well, those are 6 quality opponents, but are they? So that's why I don't put a lot of stock into who have you beaten or who have you played. Yeah, I haven't played anybody. Well, you played NFL quality talent. You won the game, and at the end of the day, that's all that matters. Whether you back into the playoffs at a 6 seed, or you go into the playoffs as a 1 seed, and you've had 4 straight weeks where you haven't had anything to play for. I've seen more teams. I'm more worried about a 9-7 team that backs into the playoffs and gets hot at the right time. They'll be 6-7 and win 3 straight games and get into the playoffs and be hot when they get into the playoffs than a team that lost 3 straight and go into the playoffs at 13-3 and really didn't have anything to play for. Lost 1 game, didn't have anything to play for. Rest of their starters and their starters haven't had meaningful snaps late in games in 4 weeks. It's just a recipe for disaster. So, Jacksonville slots in at 18. The Sheep. Sorry, I got ahead of myself. Chicago at 21. This is a make it or break it weekend for Chicago. They gotta have a win, but I don't have them winning. I got the Eagles winning. Chicago needs a win. Chicago desperately needs a win. Then at 20, I got Tennessee. Tennessee is such a mediocre team. They're so unreliable. They're probably going to lose this weekend, so shoot me in the head. At 18, I got Jacksonville. Jacksonville, another team that needs a win to get their season back on track. I like them to give the Texans a battle. I like them to give the Texans a game. But other than that, I don't think they're going to be any good. But I don't know if they're any good. Not that they're going to be any good, but I don't know if they're any good. Now, Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's been a team that I've had higher than anybody else all year. I've rated Pittsburgh very high, even when they were even though they were losing games, they were close. I really thought that Pittsburgh was close, and if they could have gone and got Teddy Bridgewater, they could have been a contender to make a run in the playoffs. Pittsburgh is the most scary team to me right now. With it being when they do a Spooktober just ending. They're a very dangerous team. I like Pittsburgh. I think they can make a run. James Conner is a beast. Mason Rudolph. All Mason Rudolph has to do is not lose in the game. Mason Rudolph's another quarterback that doesn't have to win you a game. He just can't lose you a game right now. Carolina is at 16, slipped back a couple spots after getting embarrassed by the 49ers, a team that nobody else expected, nobody else had this high. I've had them number 2 since week I've had them number 2 since the Kansas City's first loss in week 5. So in week 6, week 7, week 8, and then again in week 9, I've had San Francisco 2. So it's not necessarily it's a bad loss because it was a high because the defense gave up a lot of points, but it's not necessarily a bad loss. It's not like they lost to Cleveland 51-13 or whatever the final was. So then at 15, the Rams moved up. Probably premature to move them that high, but everybody else around them had lost, and I knew I would take a lot of crap if I moved up Pittsburgh to 15, even though I thought about it. So I didn't really want to take too much crap. At 14, I got Detroit, moved up 1 spot, the first time in 4 weeks that they moved off their 15th spot. Mainly because they beat the Giants. I'm really, call me a cynic, but I ain't planning any parades down Woodward anytime soon. Definitely need a lot of help. They're a long shot for the division. A borderline playoff team, I don't know. I think they're probably about the 8th or 9th best team in the NFC right now. I don't see them beating any of the AFC teams in the Super Bowl, so, I know it's a long way away, but, I know we're still, 14 weeks from the Super Bowl or some shit like that. At 13, I got Dallas. The Cowboys are a conundrum in my mind because I don't know which Dallas team I'm going to get. It's a very Jekyll and Hyde team. Jekyll, Hyde. So, I don't know what to make of Dallas. For me, the jury, all four of those teams, Pittsburgh, Carolina, the Rams, the Lions, and the Cowboys, they're conundrums. I don't know what to do with them. They're borderline playoff teams that could go one way or the other. At 12, I got the Eagles after their win against Buffalo. I put them 1 spot behind Buffalo because again, another team that's Jekyll and Hyde, been Jekyll and Hiding it up all year. And I don't know which team's going to show up on a week in and a week out basis. So, I need some more consistency from the Eagles for me to want to really put them any higher. At 11, I got Buffalo. I'm still on the Bills. I haven't come off of them. I know they flipped to 5-3 now, or 5-2. But I'm still liking the Bills. I think they're a good team. I think if Josh Allen can come into his own, very much a prominent potential to make a run. Definitely at that second wild card spot, or the first wild card spot, because I don't see them winning the AFC East. At 10, I got Kansas City. I know a lot of people are wondering why Kansas City's at 10, and why I've let Kansas City has let themselves slip back from 2 all the way to 10 over the last 3 weeks. mainly because of their play. I rank you based on your play. I don't care what other teams are doing. What are you doing? What are you doing in your games to win or lose? If you're not performing, if you're not winning, you're not moving up this list. It's simple as that. I mean, you can pull up other people's lists. You can show me their reasoning, okay? And their reasoning is fine. I'm not questioning their reasoning or their motives or anything like that. I am just saying that I value winning over everything else, over points, over spreads, over and unders, over quality. Because the Super Bowl, because if you make the playoffs, you have one job: win one game. Week in and week out, you can only win one game, right? And so when it comes to the playoffs and when it comes to making the playoffs, we're getting to the home stretch here. These next 2 weeks, really the home stretch for me starts at Thanksgiving. Okay? If you're not in the playoffs by Thanksgiving, you're pretty much out of it. You're pretty much done. Because if you're not 8-4 by Thanksgiving, you're screwed. If you're 6-6, it's a tough road to hoe. Okay, you gotta understand that it's a tough road to hoe if you're not 4-6. If you are 4-6, I guess. I totally misspoke. At 9, I got Houston. After slipping and moving up, I got them ahead. And again, I also take into account personnel availability and what you did, what your front office has done, who your coaches are. To me, it's more important. I'll put more stock in who you have available, who your coaches are, who your GM is, and what you're doing to win your games. Okay, so it comes winning is first and foremost. Then it takes player coaching, personnel, player personnel, and your GM. Okay, so if you're winning games, you have a good head coach, and you have great personnel, and you have a decent GM, that's going to put you higher on my list than a win against New York, the Jets, okay, is going to move you up on my list. So let's say who's playing the Jets this week? The Finns. Terrible example. Bears and Eagles, a better example. Or Panthers and Titans. Okay, that's a really, really good example. Okay, so Keenan Allen had a rather rough game. First rough game of his career. Can he bounce back? Okay, Christian McCaffrey is a great running back. We all know what he can do. He's going to score points. He's going to run that Titans defense out of the building. Okay, who did the Bucs play? Oh, the Seahawks. Very good example. So we're going to look at these two games in particular. I'm going to talk about those. We're going to break them down a little bit, and I'm going to explain why a win against a bad team is going to be better. Okay, we're going to look at the Kansas City and Minnesota, okay? I'm going to talk about these two games. We're going to talk about these 3 games. I'm going to explain why these 3 games are going to be better, why the 2 wins are better than the 1 loss, okay? Because if you do what you're supposed to do, okay, go out and beat a bad team, it's better than losing to a good team. Beating a bad team is better than losing to a good team. You can at me all you want. I'm never going to come off that because beating a team is better, gets you 1 step closer to the playoffs, okay? And when they get to the playoffs, all bets are off. I don't care. I would rather lose in the first round of every year than make the playoffs, than not make the playoffs to build for 5 years, okay? And because not making the playoffs sucks so hard. It sucks not making the playoffs. Making the playoffs is at least giving you a chance. Look at the 2014 Kings. Snuck into the playoffs, backdoored it into the playoffs, played the Rangers, won a title. Okay? And then 2 years later, they blew it up, and they're terrible again, and whatever, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't matter. They won a championship. And that's what it's all about. You can't win a championship if you're not making the playoffs, right? If you don't make the playoffs, you don't win a championship, period. Okay? So making the playoffs is important. So looking at the Titans, the Rams, the Panthers and the Titans, and the Seahawks and the Bucs. So if Kansas City does lose, which I have them slated to lose, especially Matt Moore plays, to the Vikings, if they lose 24-27, I don't count that as a quality. I don't think there's such thing as a quality loss. Certainly, there's a quality win. Like if Kansas City was to beat Minnesota, I think Minnesota's a much improved team than they were 4 weeks ago when they had slipped back in my list. That was week 6. Yeah, in week 6 or week 5 when they were in 13th, I think they've improved where they were. But so that would be a quality win for Kansas City. But I don't believe in a quality loss personally. Okay, so then, so where were we? On this dumb list of mine, Indianapolis at 8. I really like Indianapolis. I think they could be a threat in the playoffs to make the championship game, and especially if they don't have to face New England until the championship game. If they can miss New England, watch out for the Colts. They're going to be a tough out. They will be a tough out if they make the playoffs. They can make a run all the way to the Super Bowl. Mark it down. I'm saying it here. I'm saying it now. Week 9, the Colts can make the Super Bowl. They can be a tough out. Okay. Same thing. Rest of these teams, all tough outs. Minnesota moved up to 7. I like the Vikings. I was high on the Vikings early. They slipped back. Cousins had some issues in the locker room. I take that into account too when I'm making my list. When I'm doing these lists, when I'm making decisions about where I'm putting you, locker room congealance, how the locker room is playing together does have an impact on where you end up. Like if you're 6-2, but your locker room is coming apart at the seams, it's so easy for that to fracture and the wheels to fall off. In 4 weeks, so let's say 6-2. I'm not sure who else 6-2, but I think Minnesota is. I think Green Bay 7-1. Minnesota's 6-2. And if Kirk Cousins has a bad week, throws 3 picks, the wheels can certainly fall off Minnesota. They'll slip to 6-3. They'll be 2 games behind Green Bay again, and the wheels can completely come off Minnesota, and they can completely collapse and go 6-10, go 8-8, go 9-7-9, 9-7, miss the playoffs. They could go 9-7, 8-8, 6-10, and completely miss the playoffs. I've seen it happen. I know it can happen. Experienced it firsthand, personally. 2007, Detroit Lions, they were trash. They were even worse than the 08 team, and they managed to win 8 games, or 6 games. Good Lord, the Lions are terrible. They have been terrible for freaking decades. They were bad during the Barry Sanders years. So, and then Green Bay at 6. It's really hard for Green Bay to move up against their competition because, the teams in front of them are the best 5 teams in the league right now, in my opinion. I still like Aaron Rodgers. I've always liked Aaron Rodgers. I've never said Aaron Rodgers was a bad quarterback. I think a lot of people, when you criticize someone, you think they're terrible. They're trash. They're bad. No, I don't think Aaron Rodgers is a bad quarterback. I think Aaron Rodgers is a safe quarterback. I think Aaron Rodgers is a very smart quarterback. I don't think Aaron Rodgers takes enough risk because of his personal. He has personal reasons for that. I can certainly respect his personal reasons for not pushing the ball down the field necessarily. But if you look at it, he does have some of the most deep throws. He says that's like 33, 34 deep throws. So Aaron Rodgers can throw the ball down the field when he needs to / wants to. And in deep throws being 20 plus yards, one of the easiest throws in football is the 20-yard into the middle of the field. I love it. It's a great throw. It gives you so many options. At 5, I got Seattle. They kind of, all these teams basically held serve. Baltimore at 4 didn't play last week, coming into a big game against New England. Big. When I say big, I mean big. This is huge. Big. New Orleans at 3. They've got an easy one this week, I think. Or they may be off. They may be on the bye this week. I think they are. San Francisco at 2 already won in a much tighter contested game than I thought it should have been. San Francisco's defense kind of shit the bed in the second half, let Arizona back in the game, but their offense did do enough to win. and New England at number 1, as they have been since I started doing this in week 4, or well, it was technically after week 4, because that was week 7, week 6, yeah, that was in week 5. Yeah, so after week 4, when I first released my power rankings, and I don't like to power rank in the first 4 weeks, because it's so, you got so many teams that are 3-0, 2-1, 1-2, 3-0, 0-3, that are just gonna turn their seasons around. They might have, had injuries that, people coming back. I did like what New England did, going out and getting Sanu. I can't wait to see him play again in a New England, in a Patriots uniform this week. So that should be a fun matchup. Let's see what he can do against that Baltimore defense. A defense, I don't know about Baltimore. And that's why I say I don't really that's why I really don't value strength of schedule over, say, playing, because Baltimore did lose to Cleveland, who beat Seattle, who lost to Seattle, who lost to Baltimore. So shoot me in the head. I don't even know what to do. Uh, I actually managed to get through that relatively quickly. The longest part of the show was the freaking college picks at this point. So I started off the top of the show wanting to, with the bumbling my way through, congratulating the Washington Nationals on winning a World Series title. So, you know, it's incredible, because I really didn't give them a chance. And unfortunately, I didn't. I do apologize. I want to apologize to all your Washington National fans out there. Congratulations. You certainly earned it. You certainly did everything you needed to do to win a World Series. Very much congratulations from me, from the Unscripted, everyone here at the Unscripted. So, me. I want to say congratulations. Good job. Well done. My hat is, in fact, off to you, seeing as I'm not wearing a hat right now. That being said, um, Houston didn't do what they needed to do to win at home. Left way too many runners on base. They had 60 runners on base in 7 games. That's almost 9 runners a game. 9 runners a game. That's not gonna win you a lot of baseball games. You know, in the middle of you can have a stretch. Normally, in any other time in the baseball season, you at 3-4 in a 7-game stretch is not the end of the world, unless it's the World Series or playoffs. World Series, ALCS. You can go 7. Most in 7 games you go 3-4 against tough competition like Washington. You're not necessarily saying, oh, it's the end of the world. In the middle of June, it's not the end of the world. In October, I wanted to congratulate the MLB, the Major League Baseball, and its organization on getting the Major League Baseball playoffs over in October. The October Classic being done in October, well done. Having 6, 7 games in 2 or multiple series, having 2 or 3 series going to 5 games, having a couple of championship series going to 7, 6, 7 games, having the World Series go to 7 games. Congratulations, well done in getting it over in October and not having it bleed over into November, even though it probably would have been a day. But, congratulations, very good, well done on your scheduling. Excellent job scheduling and making sure that the series was over in October. So, congratulations. I would tip my cap to you, but I'm not wearing a cap. So, as I wrap up as we get into the end of the show, in the last section of the show, last 15 minutes of the show, I do want to talk about NASCAR. Not something I talk about a lot on this show. I want to talk about Denny Hamlin and the fact that he's an asshole. Okay, straight up, Denny Hamlin, a dick. Denny Hamlin does the same shit week in and week out. Okay, where he runs people over, he runs them up into the wall, he doesn't give them an inch. Denny Hamlin couldn't give Logano an inch, and they both could have come off that corner clean. Okay, and had they, there would have been no altercation at the end. If Denny Hamlin, I don't even remember how many laps were left. Some 7 or I don't even know how many. There were still like 30 laps left. You could have given Logano an inch. And I just don't think that Denny Hamlin doesn't think like this. Like, okay, I'm gonna run Logano into the wall now, right? Because I want to prove my, I want to hold my position this week. He did this 2 years ago at Martinsville when he run over Elliott, just flat out run him over, and nobody ever does anything. And Logano's the bad guy because he pushed him and he run away. He was walking away. Denny Hamlin was wiggling his finger at him. He was doing this thing. If it had been me, I'd have broke his finger off and shoved it straight up his ass. Denny Hamlin does this shit and he gets away with it. He runs people over. He runs them into the wall. He runs them quote unquote hard, but he doesn't want to take any responsibility. And he refuses to take responsibility for his actions. Logano goes over to be like, "What the hell was that?" And he'd be like, "It was hard racing, short track racing. It was late in the race. You can't give an inch. Sorry about that. I apologize, but understand. You would have done the same thing to me. I'd have been like, you know what? All right, shake your hand. It's just hard racing. There wasn't anything personal. But then you start shaking your finger and giving attitude, and then, honestly, I wish Logano would have decked him. I wish he would have just straight up punched him in the mouth, because I would have. I would have walked over there and punched him in the mouth and just been like, bam! There you go, all right? This is how, if that's how you want to race, if that's how you want to be, if that's how you're going to act on the racetrack, I'm going to take your ass out. And so I think they're at Texas this week. If I'm Logano and I'm anywhere near Denny Hamlin, I'm not giving him an inch. If I'm running 13 laps down and, Logano's coming up, I'm not getting out of his way. I'm not going to move over. I got a crew member suspended. Now, Logano got one of his crew members suspended because he threw Denny Hamlin to the ground. Well, what do you expect is going to happen in a scrum? I'm sorry, but, this is the kind of the thing that happens when you have a scrum. I wish that Denny Hamlin would have handled things differently on the track. I don't have a problem with hard racing. I don't have a problem with rubbing. But you just can't, if you're not Dale Earnhardt, you can't just shrug it off. Dale Earnhardt had this ability to just, flash that coy smile. Oh, there was nothing dirty about that. It's just hard racing, and flash that coy, he had that good boy charm, that old boy charm. Oh, well, that's Dale Earnhardt. Doesn't give anybody an inch. And then Dale Earnhardt had that reputation. But then he was such a nice, when he wasn't at the track, when he wasn't on the track, Dale Earnhardt was one of the best guys in motorsports, period. And Dale Earnhardt had that, he was abrasive and he was rough and he was tough and he was, never gave an inch. But then when on Monday, when the racing was done, he was, a completely different person outside of the racetrack, off the track, off the field, and, people want to, bash Logano, and I know Logano's persona non grata ever since the Talladega race, 3 years ago now, I think that was 2016 or 2015 when he won at Talladega over Dale Earnhardt, when he beat Junior, and I know he's been labeled persona non grata ever since because of NASCAR's inability to get a restart done. Yeah. And a lot of hay was made in the NASCAR world or in the motorsports media world with Fox Sports flubbing the end of the truck race, and it would have been so much easier to and this is the thing that I don't understand. Why didn't the truck race start at noon? Why not start the truck race an hour earlier? I see this happen in all sports across the board, across the leagues. That they want to start these games, at random times. If they had started the truck race at 1:30 instead of 2:30 or whenever it started, I forget exactly what the official green flag time was. That, and not factoring in things like weather, or the league, not putting out as an official statement, hey, we're going to start the race 20 minutes earlier. We're going to start the race 20 minutes later. Go ahead and get, and this is not just NASCAR. It goes to all leagues. It drives me absolutely insane. If you have a kickoff time a puck drop time or a tip off time or a green flag time. Okay, don't make it 10 minutes after the official start time, or 15 minutes or 25 minutes for Christ's sake. You have these games that are supposed to start at 8:05 or 7:05. If and then you wonder why it runs long. You have half-hour pregame shows. Fox NFL football, Fox Sunday football has starts at noon, and they start at 11 o'clock with their freaking pregame show. And I don't need 2 hours. Fox College Game Day starts at 9 a.m. right on Saturday. I don't watch hardly any of it anymore. It's just not compelling television. I don't need to know and nobody wants to talk nuts and bolts anymore. They want to talk human interest. I don't care about your humans or their interests. I've been saying it for years. I don't care about your humans or their interests. Okay? I don't need a 3-hour pregame show. I don't need a 3-hour race pre-race. Oh wait, cut out all the pre-race. Start the race an hour earlier, and you won't have the issue of it running over into other programming. Oh no, and don't tell me you need to get more commercials in, okay? Because you can still schedule your same amount of commercial breaks in the race. You just start the race an hour earlier. You put your commercial breaks that were in the pre-race show in the race. It'll be all right because you already do that anyway. It'd be fine. That's how you fix this. It doesn't. You don't even have to cut the pre-race to half an hour. Come on the air if the race is going to start at 2 o'clock. Come on the air at 1:30. 15 minutes of pre-race. Go to the pre-race ceremonies so you have 15 minutes of pre-race, right? Okay. Or let's say you start the pre-race at 1 o'clock. Okay, and then you have pre-race from 1 until 1:30. Then you have your Countdown to Green show, right? Because that's what NBC does. The Countdown to Green, and it's 15 minutes. It's a half an hour. You run extra commercials that you need to get in, and you get all your commercials. You get all those commercial breaks out of the way. You're at 1:45 on the dot. The command to start engines is given. Okay, command to start engines is given. Fire them up. Run 3 parade laps. You do all your pre-race show. You do all your because and then and you have all that stuff out of the way because it's not like they don't have 7 hours of programming during the week or 14 between Fox Sports and NBC. It's not like you don't have 14 hours plus of pre-race show that you can do. You can do all these stuff you can do all this during practice and have these clips and have these moments and talk about these drivers and all this other nonsense that you want to get in. That I as a race fan, because I'm here for the racing. That's why I tune in to watch NASCAR. It's for NASCAR racing. I tune into Indy Cars to watch Indy Cars race. I tune into IMSA to watch IMSA cars race. I tune into F1 to watch F1 cars race. I tune into football to watch football players play football. I don't care about what they're doing on a Tuesday in June. Who cares? Why do I care? Can somebody explain to me why I should care what LeBron James' favorite brand of toast is? And it gets so inane. It's so inane. It's so useless. It's so idiotic and moronic. I watch YouTubers, whether it be Von Allen or John Boyce or 5 Points Vids or Urinating Tree or That's Good Sports or any one of those guys. You can check them out. They all got YouTube channels and Facebook pages and Twitters and Instagrams and, Snapchats and who knows what else. Probably got some Pornhub videos out there too. If that's really what you want to watch, you can watch that. And in my opinion, I'd rather watch Urinating Tree. I'd rather watch Von Allen. I'd rather watch 5 Points Vids. I'd rather watch them I'd rather have their segments or John Boyce's segments on. Like John Boyce put out a masterclass on the worst beatdown in sports history, period. Bar none, the most devastating, brutal beatdown in all of sports when he broke down, and he spent months on it, and it was an incredible piece, but it was 22 minutes long, and it was boom, 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 point, done. No fluff, no muss, no fuss, no, anything. It was he used that electronic football game, if I'm not mistaken. He used cool graphics. It was, a couple of guys that, YouTube channel, and they put on a much better show than what's put on TV. And people wonder, and networks sit there and scratch their head like, oh, I can't figure out why people don't want to watch our stupid programming anymore. Because it's stupid and it's inane and it's moronic and it plays the lowest common denominator. I want to tune in to a sports show and be informed about sports. If I watch Fox News, I'm going there for the news. I'm going there for political opinions, whether it be pick your favorite, news channel or news show. Whether it be maybe Young Turks or Beauty and the Beta, whatever, whoever you're watching, and you're going there for that particular thing. You want to hear them talk about current issues. You want to hear them talk about current events. You want to tune in. And then you go over to ESPN, and they're doing the same thing as Fox, or they're doing politics, or they're having some inane rapper on. I was trying to watch the Le Batard show this morning, and Le Batard was out this morning, and it was Stu Gatz and the guy from the Miami Herald, who I do like. I kind of enjoy him, especially when he's on Tuesdays, and I like his Back in My Day segment because it's very tongue-in-cheek. I don't mind. I can't stand when somebody says, back in my day, as though it were a valid argument. Well, back in my day. Well, back in your day, they, I don't know, did stupid stuff that you can't do anymore because it's not back in the day, because we know better. Back in your day, they smoked in the locker room. Don't do that anymore because it's not healthy, right? Okay, enough. Enough with the back in my day. Back in my day, they clotheslined people, right? Clotheslining was legal until 1962 or something like that, or maybe it's earlier than 62 that it was outlawed, but you get my drift, okay? And so they had some random rapper on. What does he know about sports? And they didn't have him to come on and talk about sports. Like, Spike Lee is a huge sports fan. They're always at the Knicks games. Jack Nicholson's always at the Laker games. I'm sure I'd love to hear what they have to say about sports. I don't give a crap about the rap career. Like I tune into BTN or BET, BTN, either one. If I tune into BET and they got Warwick Dunn on there talking about running a power toss, or you tune into DIY. Home and Garden, and they got, Vince Lombardi on there talking about, seal here and a seal here, and you run in the gap, and then like, what the hell are they talking? Why is this? You tune into This Old House on PBS, and you got, Brett Favre out there, talking about throwing a 30-yard spiral. That'd be random and weird, and you wouldn't tune in to watch that on This Old House. You'd be like, what does Brett Favre? I know Brett Favre does a lot of, I'm sure he works on his own house, and maybe he knows something about working on houses. Okay, that's fine, that's cool. That would be interesting, to tune in. But they're talking about their stupid rap album. I'm like, this is not, the morning drive-in show on, 106 KPR out of Cincinnati, where and they got some, you don't see that stuff happen in other media. And ESPN, well, it's entertainment and sports network, and we'll do, we're going to bring on these random people, these random celebrities to talk about stuff. And then it's like, I'll give Game Day a pass for the celebrity pickers because they do come on and they do pick the games and they do talk about football. And that's okay. That's okay. I don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with that. What I have a problem with is when they come on and they talk about random crap that's not related to sports at all. I don't go to, Rachel Maddow or Sean Hannity and expect them to be breaking down the latest Packers game or the latest Knicks game, throwing shit on Roberto Luongo, or not Luongo, the other one, Henrik Lundqvist. That was the name I was looking for. Either one, I don't expect Maddow to be out there, yelling at Roberto Luongo, bring Roberto Luongo on to talk, about the last 10 games in the NHL. That would be weird and inane. And then it's the problem. In sports media, they had I don't even know what the name of that show is. It's a midday show on Fox Sports, and it's what I in The Last Chance or what, I don't forget what it was called. It's not a good show, and they had some random celebrity on there that had nothing to do with sports. This is supposed to be a sports network, and you don't have sports on your network, and you're wondering why people are tuning out. You wonder why people are tuning out of your sports network, right? Because there's no sports on your network, because it'd be like tuning into, and it's like random weird crap on T. It's like, why is the Major League Baseball playoffs on TBS? That's weird. Why is TNT broadcasting basketball? That's weird. You know, and and it's so weird to me that you have these random people, and I know they're random is a subjective word, but if they come on and we're talking sports and wanting to talk sports and it's like when I call into or when I call into Brad's show, I don't talk about my day as a factory worker. That'd be weird and random, and no one would care. He's not wanting me on the show to talk about my 9 to 5. I don't want to talk about my 9 to 5 with him either. Anyway, when I call on the Van Allen show on Saturday nights, when I talk, I'm in when I'm on Facebook and I'm in my sports groups and I'm talking sports, I'm not bringing up random crap that has nothing to do with the topic at hand. And you may be like, well, this is a random topic that has nothing to do with anything, but and then the other thing that I haven't got to yet that I wanted to get to, and I'm going to go ahead and dedicate, I'm going to let this show, I'm going to go for another 5 or 6 minutes until whenever I run out of steam. I know this is the longest show I've done yet, and I do love doing this, so don't get me wrong. I do appreciate everyone tuning in and watching, whether you're watching live as it's happening or you're watching the replay later on in the week. Thank you for checking out the show. I appreciate that. Hopefully, I'll have a much better here soon. I'll be able to upgrade my stuff, and I'll actually be able to bring in a whiteboard, and we'll be able to do some more detailed stuff and talk about stuff in a more detailed context. And I can break down the plays, and I can show you what I'm talking about, and that'll be a lot of fun. I'll just check the comments section here. Okay. Yeah, no comments. Okay. That's cool. Not a problem. So now the NCAA has allowed players to license their likeness, which is something they should have done from the beginning. They should have done this 15 years ago. Now, I'm a big fan of it. I was talking to Brad about this the other week, and I was using other businesses as an example. And that's okay. I think that's perfectly acceptable to link it to other businesses. Like, if I was an IT, if I was an IT professional and I wanted to, and I was in college, no one would say anything if I was, an engineering major and I went out and got a job in engineering. I could license my likeness to an engineering company. They thought, you look like a pro. You're an excellent. You look exactly like what people think of when you say you're an engineering student. And they wanted to use my likeness in advertising or whatever. No one cared. No one gives a damn, right? But now, if you play football or basketball, or if you play golf or any other random sport, you can't make any money off your likeness because it's like the integrity of the game. And the NCAA makes millions of dollars every year. I think like $1 billion off these athletes. And yet the athletes, all they get is room and board and free classes. They still have to buy their books. Sometimes, some places even they have to buy their own meals, and they still have to, if they want to go out and do anything, they gotta have cars, and and they gotta pay for gas, and it's not like, and even if they did, if they went down to the gas station, hey, oh, you're Shea Patterson, or you're Justin Fields, or you're Josh Day, or no, maybe not Josh Day, if you're Jim Harbaugh, or when Urban Meyer was still coaching, or Dan Mullen, or if you get any kind of kickbacks, or you got any kind of help, or hey, not that necessarily multi-million-dollar coaches should be getting kickbacks, but the that idea that players should be allowed to sell their merch, sell their sell their likeness. Um, Give me 1 second. Hello. Ha- I'm okay. Okay, thank you. I'm not interested right now. No. Yep. Yep. All right. Sorry about the interruption. We're back. Okay. So anyway, the So now, so now college athletes are going to be able to monetize their likeness, which is to me is great because like I love college football. I want to, I want a college football game that doesn't stink. You know, it would be really cool because then it could be, like even if it is NC, even if it is EA, you know, if they bring in a whole, if they have a team that isn't Madden doing it, if it's a whole new team that's not doing it, that's not just now they have now Madden has competition, even though it's in EA. Madden will have competition, and they can put out a much better game than Madden. If they put out a much better game, a much better football game, they can compete with Madden. I love video games. I love sports games. Sports video games. I've been playing a crap ton of NASCAR Heat 4. 704 Games has killed it. They absolutely knocked it out of the park. It's a fun game to play. Um, it's it works. It doesn't bug. There's hardly any bugs. There's no bugs that I've noticed. And I've been playing. I played every mode, um, except for quick race because I just play career mode and I played online and I've done all the I played the challenges. Um, and I really, really dig this game. And they're like a double A, uh, game for a studio. They're like a double A studio. They're not even triple A. So they have a third of the budget of any of the big name game studios like EA or Dice or whoever's putting out Forza, whoever puts out Gran Turismo. I forget who does them. You know, and yet their games are awesome. Their game is completely playable. Like NASCAR Heat 3 wasn't like NASCAR Heat was good. NASCAR Heat 2 was better, but not nearly as good as NASCAR Heat 3. NASCAR 3 was much more playable, and then NASCAR 4 is absolutely playable, and you can play it and you have a lot of fun. You can do a lot of fun things. There's a lot of stuff to do on the game. There's always room for improvement. There's things that I'd like to see. I'd love to see a crew chief where if you're having issues with getting a setup, or finding a setup, it'd be great to have a crew chief there. You could bounce ideas off of. Well, maybe if what do if I do this here, here, and here, and I'm, let's say I'm loose getting into the corner, like the back end, like you go down in the corner and you turn the wheel, and the back end kicks around on you. Like, how do I? 1 second. Yellow. Hello. Yes. Who is this? Alrighty, and another one that I don't care about. Sorry about that. Again, the joys of live broadcasting without any kind of studio. Um, so it would be nice. Like, okay, so as I was saying, you get the back, you turn the car, you turn the wheel to the left. The car comes all the way, comes around. You turn the wheel back to the right. Car corrects, but you lose a whole bunch. Well, it'd be just nice to have a crew chief that could be like, oh hey, this, if you put, you put 2 rounds of wedge in, you drop, take air out of the left front, whatever, blah blah blah. That kind of stuff that helps you, that would help make the game more playable, which would make the game more playable. Will give you insight into the game, how Madden has the Ask Madden feature, which gives you an idea of what plays might be, hey, these are 3 or 4 plays that you could run, um, that would be available to you. Yada yada whatever. So that being said, other than that, um, then just maybe and a silly season would be awesome too, where drivers retire, get fired, move from team to team. That would be excellent. Kind of like how Madden used to do that. There's one thing that I really enjoyed about Madden '08 was that you had or Madden '05, you had retirements, you had free agency, you had to play. If you were playing in a GM kind of mode or even in your career modes where as players got older, they would leave their current team to go for another team. Maybe they're chasing a ring, or they wanted money, or they weren't happy with the playing time, that kind of stuff. So that's things that I would like to see. And then the new college football, if we do get an NCAA game, some of the things that I'd like to see, I want to delve into that real quick before I call it a night, is that I would like to see, a detailed off season, um, detailed recruiting with kind of a Skyrim style of question and answer, where with different where you could ask multiple questions that were elicited a different response every time from different characters. When you go to recruit's house, or maybe you have a training camp and you're looking for a certain style of player that allows you to do things in your offense or defense that you want to do. Maybe you want to run an RPO style offense with lots of run pass and options. You're looking for a quarterback. Maybe you don't. Maybe you're not cared. Maybe you don't so much worry about a quarterback and throw down the field. Maybe you're looking for a quarterback that's really good at reading defensive linemen. Maybe that's something and you're having a chance to look at film from high school and seeing these players. That would be a really cool feature in a new NCAA game, is having players read the field, being able to to watch watch high school games, and maybe even or watch a Senior Bowl, or watch national maybe get an East-West game that you can play and see how see like, oh, I've been scouting this guy. He looks like a stud, and then you watch him play a game and you see, oh, maybe he's not that good, or maybe you see a guy, and when you're watching the left tackle, this is a guy that you've been scouting and recruiting for the last 2 years, and you started scouting him when he was a junior, and you've been trying to you've been making a pitch, and you've been you're kind of trying to, and then you see him at his East West pro game, and he doesn't impress. But you see maybe there's a left gut end from another country, from another school in a different part of the country that you haven't seen yet. And you're like, oh wow, that kid really impressed, So that would be the kind of things that I was looking that I want to see in an upcoming game, along definitely with good recruit, definitely with a decent gameplay where you can throw a lob, you can throw a fade, you can run pass option, where with a very conventional, with a very easy to learn control scheme that's very intuitive, that kind of mimics Madden, where like stiff arm is left trigger, stiff arm left, stiff arm right, juke left, juke right, spin, hurdle, um, truck. Maybe you can make that as like if it's left, L2 R2 L2, 1 2, R1 R2, or R1 is left arm, or right arm controls your right arm. L2 controls your juke, stiff arm, and juke left, and stiff arm and juke right, stiff arm and juke left, hurdle, spin, what's the word I'm looking for? Sprint, if that's not an auto feature. Sprint with the X. Step back with the right left trigger. Step back. You know, maybe more advanced player controls where you can maybe you're playing a defensive corner and you want to jam him at the line, and that's the right stick. Maybe you want to strafe left or strafe right. Maybe you want to turn to high point a ball in your triangle. And then these are kind of things that that are going to make you a better player, and and just make the game more involved, and more having the ability to play as any player on the field. You can play as any of the guard. You can play as the guards, the tackles, the center. Maybe you gotta, if you're playing as the center, you gotta watch the snap. You know, watch the play clock. You know, watch the ball, play clock, ball. Listen for the snap count. You gotta call out your protections. You gotta learn. You gotta read the defensive line. You gotta read the linebackers. You gotta check your corners, make sure no one's coming hot. And if somebody's calling hot, you gotta call out a protection. You know, having that ability. Maybe if you're playing as the quarterback, and you're reading your corners. You're seeing a hot corner. He's coming on the blitz, or maybe you see a linebacker that's checked off. Maybe you bring a guy in motion, and you see, they're not. They're in single. They're in man on coverage. So bring the car. Maybe they're in zone, or learning. Having that ability. And maybe even having for newer players or inexperienced players, having that kind of a tip thing. Having a tip where, oh hey, bring a man in motion to find out if they're man coverage, or find out if it's man on man, or if it's zone coverage, or those kind of things. Those are gonna be fun things that a new NCAA game is gonna have to take into account. Definitely more expanded if you're playing a career mode, a 6-game high school schedule could be fun, could be cool, with 50 or 60 schools around the country. Definitely like some of the biggest schools in each region, where you can go to school. Definitely having to go to school. Having to decide whether to go to school or go to practice or go to a party. Maybe you want to maybe you're like a man. You want a Johnny Manziel type of career where you go to school and you go to parties, and you don't take football real seriously, or maybe you don't take academics real seriously. Whatever you want to do, and it allows you to play the game the way you want. Um, and those are things that I've been kicking around for a while. I also think that a real simulation style game, like an RPG, where you would have you'd have points, you'd be awarded points for doing things right, docked points for doing things wrong, like how NHL 19 or 18 does it. I don't have 19 or 20, I have 18. That's what I've been playing when I play NHL. Is having where how like